1,000 miles of diamonds and shipwrecks. Nobody lives here. Namibia has a coastline of almost 1,000 miles, and along nearly all of it, no one lives. Not because it is worthless. This shore hides some of the richest diamond deposits on Earth, and the ocean beside it is one of the most productive fisheries on the planet. Diamonds, fish, and a deep water port, all sitting on an empty coast. The Portuguese sailors who died here called it the gates of hell. The local people called it the land god made in anger. More than 1,000 shipwrecks rot in its sand. And the reason it stays empty is not the heat. It is a cold ocean current that most people have never heard of. Let me show you why nobody stays. This is Namibia's skeleton coast, where the oldest sand sea on Earth runs straight into a freezing, violent Atlantic. It is one of the emptiest inhabited coastlines anywhere. Namibia is already the second least densely populated country in the world, and its coast is emptier than the rest of it. Over the next few minutes, we will map 4 forces that sealed this place off. The current that killed the rain, the fog that killed the ships, the diamonds that fenced off the south, and the simple fact that there is almost nothing here to drink. Start with the size of the emptiness. Namibia's coast runs for about 1,570 kilometers, close to 1,000 miles, from the Orange River in the south to the Cunene River on the Angolan border. Drive the entire length, and you will pass only 3 towns of any real size. Walvis Bay, the country's main port, holds around 100,000 people. Swakopmund, the old German seaside town, holds fewer than 50,000. Lüderitz, far to the south, has barely 15,000. Between them lies almost nothing. To understand how empty that is, look at the country as a whole. Namibia is the size of Germany and France combined, but only about 3 million people live in it. That works out to roughly 3 people per square kilometer, the second lowest figure on Earth after Mongolia. And that average is generous, because most Namibians live inland, in the wetter north and the central highlands around Windhoek. The coastal strip, the band of desert facing the Atlantic, is close to uninhabited for hundreds of miles at a stretch. On most maps of human settlement, Namibia's shoreline is a blank. This is not a coast that filled up and then declined. It is a coast that was never settled in the first place. For scale, you could drop the entire United Kingdom into this empty coastal desert and still have room left over, and you would find almost no permanent human settlement anywhere inside it. And that is strange, because a shore with fish, diamonds, and deep harbors should be crowded. Instead, it is one of the loneliest edges of the inhabited world. The answer begins offshore, in the water itself. The engine of all of this is a cold ocean current called the Benguela. It flows north along Namibia's coast, dragging deep, frigid water up from below in a process called upwelling. That cold water does something strange to the sky above it. Warm, wet air blowing in off the Atlantic hits the cold surface, and its moisture condenses out over the sea, long before it ever reaches land. The rain falls on the water, not the desert. So the coast sits in a permanent rain shadow made not of mountains, but of cold sea. The result is the Namib, the oldest desert on Earth, dry for at least 55 million years and possibly far longer. Parts of the Namib receive less than 10 millimeters of rain in a year. Some spots go years with no measurable rain at all. The little life that clings on here, from the ancient Welwitschia plant to fog-drinking beetles, does not depend on rain at all. It survives entirely on the moisture it can comb out of that daily fog. This is the key that unlocks the whole coast, and it is completely counterintuitive. People assume a desert this brutal must be blazing hot. It is not. The same cold current that kills the rain also cools the air above it. Days on the Skeleton Coast are often gray, damp, and cold, wrapped in sea fog, with temperatures far milder than the deserts of the Sahara or Arabia. The Namib is not empty because it is too hot to live in. It is empty because that cold water offshore has starved it of fresh water for tens of millions of years. And that same cold current has one more trick, a deadly one, that gave this coast its name. When that Atlantic fog rolls inland, it turns the coast into a trap. The Benguela current chills the air just above the sea, and thick banks of fog form almost daily, then drift over a shoreline with no lighthouses, no towns, and no landmarks. For centuries, sailors navigating the west coast of Africa simply could not see where the water ended and the sand began. Ship after ship ran aground in the murk. The currents and the pounding surf then pushed the wrecks so far up the beach that some now sit hundreds of meters inland, stranded in the dunes as the coastline shifted around them. There are thought to be more than 1,000 wrecks along this shore. The Edouard Bolin, a cargo steamer wrecked in 1909, now lies marooned far from the water, slowly swallowed by moving sand. And the sea was only the first danger. Sailors who survived the wreck then faced the desert. With no fresh water for hundreds of miles and no way to signal for help, many simply walked inland and died. The shore is littered not only with ship timbers, but with the bleached bones of whales and seals, and, in the grimmest cases, of people. That is where the name comes from. The Skeleton Coast. The local bushmen called it the land god made in anger. Portuguese sailors called it the gates of hell. A coastline that could wreck your ship, then finish the job on land, is not a coastline anyone chooses to call home. And yet this deadly coast is astonishingly rich. That same cold Benguela upwelling that starves the land feeds the sea. The nutrient-rich water fuels one of the most productive fishing grounds on the planet, and huge colonies of animals live off it. At Cape Cross, around 600,000 Cape fur seals gather on a single stretch of shore, one of the largest seal colonies in the world. Fishing is one of Namibia's biggest export earners, and the port of Walvis Bay was fought over politically for decades, precisely because that cold, fish-filled water was worth controlling. Then there are the diamonds. Over millions of years, the Orange River washed diamonds down from the interior and out to sea, and the surf scattered them along the southern beaches. When they were discovered in 1908, the German authorities immediately sealed off the entire southern coast. They called it the Sperrgebiet, the Forbidden Zone, a strip of desert roughly 320 kilometers long where the public was simply banned from entering. Much of it has stayed closed for over a century. The mining town of Oranjemund still pulls around 2 million carats of gem diamonds out of the sand every year. But here's the paradox. All that wealth did not create cities. The Diamond Coast is a company operation, fenced and guarded, not an open frontier. Further north, the ghost town of Kalmanskap, once a rich diamond settlement, has been abandoned to the desert, its grand houses slowly filling with sand. The riches are real, but they are locked behind fences or scattered in a sea too cold and wild to live beside. Wealth alone, it turns out, is not enough to fill a coast. So why, with fish and diamonds and deep harbors, does almost no one live here? The final answer comes down to two things: water and law. Start with water. For nearly the entire length of this coast, there is no permanent fresh water at all. The rivers that cross the Namib are ephemeral, meaning they run only for a few days after rare inland rains, then vanish back into the sand. The towns that do exist, like Walvis Bay and Swakopmund, survive on water piped or pumped from far away, and increasingly on desalination. Without that engineering, they could not exist. You cannot build a farm, a village, or a family homestead on a coast that offers you nothing to drink. Then there is the law. Almost the entire Namibian coast is locked inside protected areas. The Skeleton Coast National Park covers the northern third. The Namib Park, one of the largest protected areas in all of Africa, covers much of the center. The old Sperrgebiet is now a national park too. Add the diamond concessions, and nearly the whole shoreline is either a mine or a nature reserve, where ordinary people cannot buy land or settle. Between the parks and the mines, the coast is legally sealed almost end to end. So the emptiness is not an accident of history. It is the combined result of a cold current, a waterless desert, and more than a century of deliberate decisions to fence this coast off and keep it wild. Put it all together, and the Skeleton Coast stops being a mystery. It is not empty because it is too hot, or too poor, or too far from anywhere. It is empty because of one cold ocean current and everything that current set in motion. The Benguela starves the land of rain, creating the oldest desert on Earth. It wraps the shore in the fog that wrecked more than 1,000 ships. And it feeds a sea so rich it drew diamond miners and fishing fleets, who then fenced the coast off behind restricted zones and national parks. Rich enough to help bankroll an entire country, deadly enough to kill the sailors who washed up on it, and dry enough that almost no one can actually live there. That is the strange truth of Namibia's coast. It is one of the most valuable empty places on Earth, kept empty not by poverty, but by cold water, thirst, and law. 1,000 miles of shoreline, and almost no one to watch the sun go down. That is the Skeleton Coast, a shore rich enough to bankroll a nation and still too hostile to live on. Next time, we map a country with the opposite problem. Lesotho, the country that exists entirely inside another. A whole nation, surrounded on every side by a single neighbor, with nowhere to go but up. Subscribe to No One Lives Here, and we will map it together.